Hi guys, welcome to the fourth episode in our latest mini-series on the good, the bad and the ugly of church. First of all, a little apology. We did say that this episode was going to be Jordan talking about church and the younger generations. As it turned out, when he came back, he had a very short time, so we couldn't actually do that. But the good news is we do have our very good friend Lesley with us today.
Hello.
And Lesley has had a lot of experience in churches as well during her life, and has actually just left institutional church for, I think it would be fair to say, the first time, right?
Yep.
Yep.
Only left about 7 weeks ago.
Yeah.
So it's very, very early days, yes.
Yes. So we thought it was a perfect opportunity to speak to Lesley about her experience as to why she's left. So yeah, we're excited about that. So without further ado, Lesley, first question, why have you left institutional church?
Well, it's been a long process, really. Over about the last 10 years, I've been preaching and teaching regularly in a few different churches. And I just constantly kept coming back to that thought, is it all worth it? I was spending hours in all the preparation and giving these talks and thinking, how much difference is it really making in people's lives?
Right.
You know, you'd go up there and then you'd feel like sometimes you were like getting nothing back. You were speaking to a brick wall and you weren't seeing change. And so, yeah, it was a lot of that really, thinking, was this effort going in the right thing? Basically, was preaching to the converted something that I was really called to do.
Right.
And then about 5 years ago, I had this vision, and it was like by way of a story. I was writing my prayer journal, and then suddenly all this stuff started coming, so I just liked writing it all down.
Mm-hmm.
And then I went back and read it afterwards and realized that God had given me a story picture effectively of what he was calling me to do. And it was crazy. And I'd never experienced anything like that before.
Yeah.
But basically the story, and I'm just going to paraphrase it, I'm not going to give you all the detail, but there was this island, quite a big island, say an island like the size of the Isle of Wight.
Okay.
Covered in jungle. Okay. And a couple of people on that island, they set up a camp and they start to establish somewhere that they can live and be safe. And then another couple of people come and join them. And so the camp grows, and over time, another couple come to join them. The thing is, on this island, the people who normally live on that island speak one language, but these people who are establishing this camp speak a different language. So they find that they can't easily integrate, they can't easily mix with them. So they feel a little bit isolated. Anyway, they form this camp. But then one of the people in the camp starts to act differently than the others. And they head off into the jungle. Mm-hmm. They've got a machete and they're smashing down the jungle, creating pathways, and then setting up flags in high places. And the people in the camp can't understand this person. I mean, they see the most important thing is having a secure camp, having, regular food and water, and having a place of safety. Mm-hmm. And this person doesn't seem to share their same values. They're off heading up hills,
forging new paths in the jungle,
hacking down the jungle. And it's so, but what happens then one day, a person arrives in the camp, somebody they'd never met before. And they said how they'd seen this flag on this high hill. And then they'd followed the paths and they'd led them to the camp. And they spoke the same language as these people and had felt they were totally isolated. They were by themselves. And suddenly they'd found all these people that they could be, part of, and they joined the camp. And then over time, more and more people saw the flags, followed the trails, and joined the camp.
Right.
And obviously the people in the camp started to understand why the trails and flags were there, but still their priority was to grow this camp and have this place of security. But ultimately the camp grew too big. And so what happened is this person who'd laid the trails then took a number of the people from the camp and they went off and established another camp in a different place. And of course, because the people had come from all over the island, they knew the best place to set up a camp.
Right.
And eventually, over the years, there were multiple camps in different places, all connected by these trails, with all these flags on high places. And the flags had the words on them, "My banner over you is love." It cuts me up every time I think about it. But basically just saying that God's love is across the whole thing.
Yeah.
And that it's God's love that's overriding, that's drawing people together. Yeah.
So in terms of the path and the person with the...
Yes, I was the person with the machete. And I was the one that was being told to go off and leave the place of safety and go off with my machete and put the flags out.
Right.
And so I knew at some time, I would be called to go and do something different and leave what was the safe place, if you like, that everybody saw as the safe place, and
which
do
you
something.
Would see as institutional church. Just
Absolutely.
To be clear.
Yes.
Yeah.
But to do the thing that they don't understand.
Yes.
Can't understand why I would want to leave.
Mm-hmm.
Now, the thing with that picture, as I say, it happened 5 years ago, and I didn't fully understand at that time what it meant or what the timing would be. But over those years, I have received other words, pictures, things have happened. And then suddenly this summer, I had a dream that really indicated the time was now. And also other things happened this summer regarding things that I was called to do and people that I met. The timing was just right. It was obvious. And so I had been leading the church all summer because the pastors had been away. And then when they came back, I had to sort of break the news. And I knew it would be challenging. And I knew some people would be upset by that. But I equally knew that what I'd been called to, I needed to do, and I needed to do it now.
Yeah.
So that's what we've got to.
And that's quite brave of you to do that kind of on your own. Well,
yeah,
maybe that's another part of the story because it's not completely on your own because we'd met.
Yeah.
So it is worth saying just for point of interest.
Yeah.
But we met last spring, and it was also just really encouraging for George and I to meet you here in Spain, to find out that you'd read a book called Organic Church.
Yes.
Up in the first conversation, didn't it?
Which you'd
loved, which is all about small organic Christian communities and letting that just happen naturally. And we were like, wow, what are the chances of meeting someone like you?
I think what happened actually with that book is I shared this picture with a friend of mine. And that friend is quite prophetic. And she then gave me that book.
Right.
So that book was given to me 5 years ago. When I read it, I said to her, "What have you done? You've destroyed me." This book sort of talks exactly to my heart about how I felt. But I couldn't see how that was going to come to pass.
Yes.
But, God knows. And as like you say, the fact was that we met and so I immediately realised that there was this kind of mutual understanding, connection. And it's not just that book, is it? There's other things. There's other things. You keep finding other things.
Experience. Yeah.
So,
but you've waited a long time. Then you had to wait 5 years for the timing to be right. So
absolutely,
it's a long time to wait.
Yeah.
So, what do you see yourself doing over the next couple of years? Then, now that you've got that picture, you've just recently left.
Well, already I'm doing a number of things.
You are.
I am, yes. So I do see that potentially over time that we will be establishing small groups of believers who want to experience church in a much more intimate way, potentially having small church fellowships within houses, and then meeting together with, other small groups of churches within houses. So you'll have little clusters. That's how I see it. And it's much more like the early church model, where churches were just small groups of believers who'd meet together, but then they would get together, with others to do different things. But also very much working with those that are outside the church and just wouldn't consider walking through the door of the church.
Yep.
I run a gospel choir, and there's a lot of people in that who are spiritually open, but wouldn't consider the church as somewhere to go. And mainly they wouldn't really consider that the church is sort of answering the questions that they've got.
Yep.
You know, they
That's
see the church as being somewhat irrelevant to their own lives.
Yes.
But the thing is that, you know, God isn't irrelevant to their lives. And so it's trying to find out what questions they have, you know, where are they hurting? How can I help? And how can I ultimately point them to God, because he's the one that's going to help them ultimately to. So I'm running a course at the moment called the Spirituality Course. And again, it's something God called me to write about 4 years ago. And when I wrote it, I ran it as a pilot course and then intended to run it again, but got so busy working inside the church that I didn't.
You couldn't do it.
I know.
Yeah.
And that's the thing with being inside the institutionalized church. There's so many jobs to do. There's so many things to do. No matter how much you intend to work outside, you get sucked in.
Yeah.
So really, that's, I think, why I felt I had to leave. If I was going to do this properly, I had to leave.
Yes.
So I'm running that course at the moment. I'm also running a small Bible study group on another day a week in somebody else's caravan, actually. And I'm running the gospel choir. So that's quite a busy schedule already. Yes.
But the difference is, which I think is really satisfying for you, is the balance has switched, hasn't it? And that is mainly outward focused now.
Yeah.
Which is what you were really missing all these 5 years.
That's it, absolutely. And because it's smaller groups, I'm able to tailor it to the questions that the people have. So it's not just presenting material. It's very much a discussion, and the direction that I take is based on the issues that come up in those individuals. And also I've been spending time with individuals who are facing particular challenges in their lives.
It's so important, that, isn't it? So vital.
Yeah.
The best form of discipleship, isn't it, really, is one-on-one.
Absolutely. And for some of those people, it's physical things, but actually for many of the others, it's spiritual. And so I'm helping them with spiritual challenges that they're facing. And it's so rewarding. So much more rewarding, I have to say, spending, you know, an hour one-to-one with somebody than it was giving a sermon.
Isn't it? Because you see the lights go on, don't you?
Yeah.
And just life change happening in front of your eyes.
Yeah.
Or the next time you meet, they're able to tell you.
The joy and the transformation in them. And I just absolutely love it.
Can't beat it.
No, you can't beat it. You can't beat it. So, yeah.
That's so good.
Yeah.
Is it worth, people might be interested, because obviously there's lots of courses out there, the classics like Alpha and whatever. Is it worth you just mentioning the topics of this course that you're doing, which is definitely pre-Alpha, but people might find it interesting? Yeah,
so the course is, say, designed really for people who've ended up going down the route of the New Age movement. So I start the course looking at meditation. We then go on and look at dreams, angels, healing, and then life and death. So the big one, really. So what happens to us when we die, ultimately? And that the course really builds up to that. And the idea with looking at things like meditation is the fact that although there are very non-spiritual elements to meditation, it's also a highly spiritual activity.
Sure.
And many people have experiences of meditating or understand it's good for this or that, but it helps people to start opening up. And then we look at dreams, and people have had all sorts of weird dreams, but obviously we know that God speaks to people through dreams.
Yeah.
And what's becoming very evident to me is the way that God has been working in their lives, even though they haven't seen it. So my role, I see often, is to simply point out where God has been working and they hadn't seen it.
Yep, I love that.
And then it kind of opens their eyes and they sort of realise, oh my word, was that God? You know?
Increasing awareness, really.
Totally.
Yeah.
And it happens over a period of time. But, you know, some of the topics we're covering are quite controversial church-wise. And when I started talking to the church leaders about potentially writing this, they were very wary, very skeptical.
Yeah.
And I realised that I was doing something that was breaking ground, if you like, because it wasn't what was normally done.
Out of the box.
Absolutely. Yeah. Which is why it's so much easier to do it outside of a traditional church, because it isn't the sort of material that they would feel comfortable with.
Yes.
And sometimes they say you've got to stray into areas, because you've got to stray into the areas that the people you're talking to are already there.
Absolutely.
And if you aren't communicating it,
if you can't meet them there where people are at,
yeah, you can't communicate.
No.
Yeah, so yeah, they've got to feel free also to express how they feel about it, what they've done, what they've explored, and potentially, what they regret. Yeah. And so, yeah, it's exploring that process with them as you go through.
I think it's great. Love it.
It's going so well. Yeah.
It's so good. Great. So, as this podcast series is also about the good, the bad, and the ugly of the institutional church, it'd be great to know, be great to hear from you on your experiences of those things as well.
Yeah.
Which led up to where you're at now. So, how about you start with the good?
Okay. Well, it's probably the best place to start, isn't it, really? So, yeah, I have been to a lot of different styles of churches, but generally what I'd say is the good things that I've seen is that most of the churches have been really good at being a place of fellowship where people can all come together. You can meet other Christians, you can meet friends, you can make connections. So a great place to get together with other Christians. And also potentially, good places where you can receive teaching and worship. So all about just being together and doing, so I suppose walking the faith together. And also caring for one another when people are going through a hard time, being alongside one another. So I think that's probably some of the strongest things that I've seen church does. And I think this moves us very cleanly onto the bad. And that is things can get very inward looking. Because it's all about meeting other believers. It's all about caring for one another. It's all about what you do when you're together. It can become very, very inward looking. And then people stop trying to reach out. They lose contact with their non-Christian friends. They don't mix, and they don't then understand what the questions are that those people have.
Yeah, lose touch.
So they lose touch. They become disconnected. Yeah, so I think that's one of the key bads. I have to say I have got a few notes because
there's a lot.
You're going to forget.
Yeah, that's fine.
Reams of pages, but yeah. So because of this inward-looking tendency, shall we say, of people over time, when Jesus said, "Go and make disciples," that's what he meant,
Yeah.
Go
and keep going. Don't just stop.
Yeah. But they do. They stop. You become complacent, and I think it's very easy to do. And also, people tend to get, or churches in general, tend to get stuck in a rut. They stop being challenged. They stop changing. It becomes comfortable. And quite frankly, for me, the sort of person that likes to head into the jungle with a machete, it becomes boring.
Yeah.
But I can understand where they're at. That they're in the camp, and they want to make it comfortable. And once it is comfortable, that's how they like it. But we're told to go.
Yeah.
And I suppose for me, the more comfortable it becomes, the less I want to be there.
Yes.
Yeah. I want to see challenge, and I suppose that's the thing is sometimes things need to be shaken up, but people don't want to be shaken. Yeah. So yes, the church becomes irrelevant because it becomes inward looking and it becomes too comfortable and not radical. So I think that's what I've seen in the bad.
Right. So how about the ugly? Have you seen some ugly?
I've seen some ugly. And I'd like to say straight off that I'm not going to talk at all about my most recent church.
Yeah.
and I haven't been so far. I'm trying to generalize. It's very recent that I left there, and I don't want to criticize.
Yeah.
Okay, so we'll take that, but I've got years to talk from here, so I don't need to talk about that. But generally, I want to talk about leadership, and that is where I've seen some of the ugly, and it's to do with leadership trying to over control, I think, is the way I would see it.
Yeah.
And I've seen a pattern of it in many churches where when the leaders first come in, they're great and it's all sort of trying to get everybody involved. But over time, whether it's that they get worn down or they just
like the pressures of the congregation, saying the different desires.
This person doing this and this person saying that.
Yeah.
Or whether it's just the desire for power, because we know, we can see within governments, the longer somebody's in power, the more controlling they become.
Goes to your head.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
But I see that pattern of a new leader comes in, great and open and bringing everybody together, and then it closes in. The control comes.
Yeah.
And so there tends to be a lack of collaboration with the people in the church, a lack of collaboration even with other leaders. So a one leader becomes the control, and the other supposed leaders are not able to express, communicate,
bring gentle challenge,
all sorts of things.
Yes.
But it becomes this single leader control. And the church stops depending and listening to God, and it all becomes about the strength and power and control of the leader.
Yeah, and the structures and the programs and all of that. Yeah,
all of that, because all it becomes about what man can do and not what God can do.
Yep.
So I think that was the key thing.
Yeah, it's a definite pattern, isn't it? Things start off fresh and organic,
yeah,
and then they become institutionalized, and we see that even with the early church, don't we? It was an underground, dynamic, radical movement that was not popular with the ruling powers,
anybody,
and it grew fast and did amazing things. And then once it became official and institutionalized and become static and a place of control, and just it's a pattern, isn't it? So I think that is the kind of reverting to type, and you have to work hard, I think, and be very intentional about resisting that and it not turning into that, don't you?
I think the thing is, I totally agree. And I think also as things start to grow, humanity tends to have a desire to put structures around it.
Yeah, definitely.
Which is why it's important that it remains small and dynamic. And that, so you have this sort of splitting in multiple locations and multiple leaders and an enabling and all of this, rather than the growing, the
centralized.
Yeah.
Which then becomes
the
controlling thing.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah. Reminds me of a book about starfish and the spider, but I won't go into that. But that's definitely a principle. In terms of the ugly, you also there's another area.
There is an area
forgotten.
I think there might be an area. Yes,
which is
women. Women in the church. Yes. Yes. Yeah. Well, you can't really sort of go by without mentioning that, really. And obviously, we know that Jesus had women in his sort of discipleship group.
He sure did.
He did, and he promoted women from the position that they were in society. And we can see that Paul worked very closely with women leaders.
Despite what people say about one or two passages.
Yes, well, unfortunately, maybe we'll have to hold a podcast on that.
Yes, probably.
But a lot of what he said, he was reflecting the views of the people that he was speaking to and then correcting them. But not all of that is obvious in the way it's written.
Yeah.
So anyway, that's a whole nother deal. But we do obviously live in a very patriarchal society, and there's always a tendency for the men to be at the top, whether it's business, whether it's church, but actually church can be one of the worst places. And although I have been in some churches where I have really been encouraged to teach, to preach, and to lead, There are others that I've been to where women are simply not allowed to teach
Yep.
at all.
Yep. Unless it's maybe the Sunday school, or if
oh,
they're sent out as missionaries, maybe
you
then.
can teach overseas, but you can't really teach here.
If you come back and actually want to explain or tell people what you've done and use the same passage that you've been teaching on in India in a Sunday service, oh no, you can't do that because women can't teach. Like,
No.
what have you been supporting me to do for the last 5 years then exactly?
Yeah.
It's just crazy, isn't it?
It's bonkers. And the thing is also, it's in the leadership. You can teach, but you can't lead, or you can lead, but you can't teach. It's all man-made rules.
Yes.
But as I say, I have been in churches where I have been very much encouraged. I mean, in one of my churches in Swindon, that my pastor was encouraging me to preach, and I was like, no, I don't do that sort of thing. At that point, I did need encouragement to do that. But the fact is that ultimately, you always reach a ceiling that you cannot cross.
That's what I was going to ask you. Have you ever been in a church where there has literally been no ceiling?
Absolutely not. There's always a ceiling.
Isn't that sad for a woman in their 50s as capable as you to say that there's never been anywhere that you could have been that has had no ceiling, that you would have been completely free to do anything that a man was doing?
No, and the thing is also, you're not free to make your own decisions. You're given a certain amount of freedom, but ultimately the decisions lie with a man.
Yeah.
And you can't get to the point where you could actually make those decisions yourself. And the thing is also, when you feel very strongly that God is calling you to act in a certain way and you are unable to, then
it's really tough.
Yeah.
And it's crazy because when you look at Deborah was married to Lapidot.
Absolutely.
She led Israel.
Yeah.
Deborah led Israel, not her husband, and had peace for 40 years. Even just that one example. It's anyway.
Yeah, there's a lot to be said.
There is a lot to be said.
We have a lifetime of experience here.
Yeah.
Yes, we do.
We do.
And I think maybe the thing to close on here, do you think? Yeah. You got a few more things?
Well, keep going.
Okay. Well, one final thought really I had before you interject with anything else was...
Yeah, we got another question.
I was at a conference this summer, and I was looking around at the conference, and there were so many big blokes, all 6 foot tall and probably more. And I was looking around and thinking, well, these are the people that the people in the church look to for their leadership, the big tall men. And it's the classic, isn't it? We look for a certain thing. And what did God say? He doesn't look at the outward appearance. He looks at the heart.
Yeah, absolutely.
And, when he chose David was small, and he was the shepherd out on the field. And so I was looking around in there and somewhat feeling, inadequate, and saying to God, why have you called me? Why have you called me to do this? Because I was recognizing that he called me to go and do something outside the norm and to do something different. And why are you calling me to do this? And what God impressed on me was that I am a non-threatening presence. Because I'm a small and I'm a woman, I'm exactly the
appearance.
Yes, okay. On the appearance, yeah. But yes, I am not threatening to most people in my presence because I'm a small and I'm a woman. Whereas a large man is the opposite.
A bit more intimidating.
Intimidating and threatening might be seen. So I can go into places and say things that they wouldn't be able to because of who I am, how I appear.
Yes.
But yes, I still carry that power.
Oh yeah.
But it may not
a little
be
pocket rocket. That's what she is. She's a pocket rocket. Lesley, I want to ask you one last question, although we probably need to do another podcast on some of these in the future. Well, actually, it's really 2, but maybe you can combine them. What was your best, or you can even choose, what was your best church experience? I'm curious about, but also based on, and they are linked, based on the experience you have had, what would your ideal expression of church look like? You've kind of maybe touched on that a bit anyway.
Yeah. Well, I suppose the best church that I went to was probably a Baptist church in Swindon. And anybody watching this will know which one that was. But anyway,
And they'll feel good about that.
Yes, yes. No, it was a great place, and I think one of the things that really helped it is that they had two leaders, and one leader was more of the sort of traditional teacher, and the other was a much more spiritual type of person. And so you didn't get this one leader sort of controlling the way in which the church expression became, if you like. You had the word and the spirit covered effectively with two
So by
different
spiritual,
people.
you mean open to the movement of
Open to the movement of the spirit.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. You weren't saying that teachers weren't unspiritual. I know what you mean.
Yeah.
Yes.
But you know how churches tend to go down the line of
Yeah.
word or spirit.
Yeah, they
and
do.
we effectively had two leaders that personified that.
That's great.
And so they worked so well as a team because of that expression. And it was the fact that those of us who potentially had a more kind of spirit yearning, leaning, were able to express that in some of the meetings that we had and some of the things that happened.
Right.
Whereas those that were more traditional or more had more of a word leading had that. And I think it comes down to multiple leaders. And although I'm talking about two here, we've talked many times about the need to ensure that you get a breadth of
apostles, prophets, pastors, teachers, and evangelists.
those
your
ones,
techniques.
yes, all different
body,
of those 5 different leadership skills.
Yeah, it's really important. Otherwise, you're missing half the body, aren't you? Or
totally.
1, 2, 3/3 of it, whatever, 3/5 of it.
And so many churches that I think we've both experienced focused on the teacher and the shepherd side of things, you know, looking after people's well-being and ensuring they're taught. But when it comes to evangelism, when it comes to outreach, when it comes to the apostleship, the actual going out and doing new things, shaking things up, thinking about basically what God's telling us to do, and perhaps doing things that aren't quite so comfortable.
Yeah.
But also really relying on the prophetic, listening to what God's saying and his timing on it, you know, is crucial.
Yeah.
Otherwise, this whole thing gets inward looking, becomes irrelevant to the outside. And
healthy churches need all 5 for the body
they
to be
do.
functioning in a healthy way.
Yeah.
And that's what I think a lot of what is happening in the church over more recent years, even maybe the last decade or so, where those gifts are being recognised and encouraged and released and coming to the fore, aren't they? So that we can have healthier expressions.
I think Dylan said it's the end. He's
he
left the sofa.
He's decided that that's enough.
So maybe that's it for now then.
That's it for now. Well, it's been really great. It's been really great to have you, Lesley. Thanks so much for sharing your experience. And it is a great honour to be your friend and to walk alongside you with all that you're doing.
No, it's fabulous.
And I'm sure this will not be the last time you were on the podcast. Definitely not.
Well, we'll do it again.
Yeah, definitely. So thanks for listening, guys. We'll be continuing on this series for a bit longer. As you know by now, you can connect with us on our socials or on our Facebook community group. So until next time, thanks for listening. God bless.
Bye.